Now, turning to the panelists, I would like to ask them the most important question from the exercise just now. When you took up your role, and saw the problems, issues, gaps, what did you think was the root cause? And yeah, let's start from there. Joe first, maybe?
Sure. Just full transparency, I'm on Chicago time and I've just checked and it's 3:30 a.m. So if I just start leaning over, will you just push me back? Thank you. I started to touch on it earlier. The org chart, organizational chart that I inherited with the line of managers and the officers, there was no pathway for people to grow or to retain any of the staff. The officers couldn't see how to get to a manager level, and then the managers would just drop off because there was nowhere else for them to go other than to the CEO role, and I'd just joined. So yeah. So what I did was I just started to create layers and levels. And so we started to build out senior officers, assistant managers, senior managers, a head and a director, and more recently a deputy CEO, which I think is particularly relevant, although it's not just about a CEO backup plan. Succession is about every single person across all layers seeing how they can help bring up people into their own roles. But it's not just as well about creating these new levels. It's about giving people the framework and the support that they need to become line managers. So we really invested a lot of time and effort and training opportunities for assistant managers to become managers themselves. And so we have a really robust program around how to help them lead others, not just themselves. And so that means that when we do have a manager position available, then we have a pipeline of assistant managers that can move into that. We involve them in decision making. We have a very intentional HR group where we discuss HR matters, policies, and we bring anyone who is a line manager into that room so that they can be part of the policy making as well, as part of the organization. So it's really kind of being really intentional about the entire ecosystem around building people up and empowering them into new roles and giving them opportunities to really shape the organization that they're in.
Thank you. Just one quick question. You mentioned about the HR team or advice. Where did you get that resource from?
Well, it's internal. So we have a regular meeting every 2 weeks. Anyone who is a line manager meets to talk about policy matters. And it can really range from we're developing a 360 process. It's not performance review. It's about helping people to grow, and so they get to input into what that looks like, or decisions around flexible working policy, and getting their opinions, and giving them a chance to contribute. But we do also have external pro bono HR subject matter experts, a bit like the committees I mentioned earlier. We have that as a resource as well.
That's great, thank you. So it's both internal and external resources and advice, as well as letting line managers be involved in the discussion, in the designing of what's needed to be done for the organization. Thank you. So next, let's move on to Celine. Looking back, when you took up the job and realized all the issues and gaps, what do you think the root cause was for your organization?
I think the root cause, say, for when there was gap in succession planning when I took on is resources. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is not a surprise, right? But an easy answer to that, like when you don't have resources to hire more than one person to work on a project, is to get more volunteers. But of course, the issue is volunteers, they don't have the same availability as a long-term staff. So that's not a perfect solution. So what I think how we handled that was we started the succession planning, or we tried to improve the planning by starting it as soon as possible. Like, it's not even day one of someone's joining the team, but day zero, like during their interview. Because when we interview people, or when I started to interview people, I started to look for traits like, are they open-minded? Are they interested about learning? Are they interested about growing beyond what they're currently doing? Like, if they are law students and they tell me like they are passionate about legal research and that's it, then I'm looking for people who are like actually fundraising, marketing, because these are the people who would be able to help. Number one, if they are someone who would think about their next steps because they want to learn, they naturally understand the importance of succession planning more. So when you approach them to work on knowledge management, they approach them to work on sharing their skills with others, they probably will have lower level of insecurity. And number two, these people are also the people who can step in more readily when someone else leaves the team. So yeah, in short, basically start the succession planning during the interview.
Right. Thank you. So you're looking for somebody who's forward-looking as well, and with that curiosity and open mindset to say, hey, there's something else we need to do, or something else we need to help the organization move forward to, and therefore I'm in it, I'm in for it, and that kind of mindset and with attitude. Thank you. Raymond, so when your previous co-ED left and then you got faced with the situation of the organization, when you were faced with all the issues and problems, what did you think was the root cause? Thank you.
I think the root cause is the unfinished conflict that I had with Matthew, that I only realized after maybe 6 months to 9 months after he left that his departure is not really a finished closure. And I went through a lot of different kinds of therapy and counseling because we co-founded this together. And we had many ups and downs together. And we had also many conflicts together that now we can talk like friends. But at some moment, we couldn't really talk peacefully. We would easily argue like a couple. Yeah, some of our board members said we both have a marriage issue and asked us to find marriage counseling, kiddingly. But I think it's real that we care about the issue so much, that we also had so much pain. And when we have so much pain inside and we don't look inward to do the inner work, it is the biggest hurdle for me to really think through the issue when the mourning that is so needed was not done properly.
So that also ties in with the way you look at the root cause. To me, it sounds like it is also very much tied together with the original purpose or DNA of your organization. That the very solution that you wanted to bring to society, you also needed to bring to yourselves in that sense.
Very accurate. Yeah, I didn't realize that when I mentioned something about Matthew's departure as I asked the question at the very beginning. Have you ever experienced when you want to mention something or some person that you cannot really talk through freely, casually, comfortably? And I could share it now because I went through the process of mourning, grieving, crying, shouting, getting angry or getting very disappointed. Connecting all those deep pain inside of me allow me to understand, the biggest hurdle for me to figure out how to handle the situation in the organization after his departure is to first connect with myself.
Okay. So apart from that, what other one or two best practice could you share with everyone, please?
Oh, wow. I often share this with my colleagues, and often, because we collaborate with a lot of schools and educators, I often recommend therapy for everyone. I'm not sure whether you have heard of Celine's song, 樹木真美. I don't know how to translate that in English. That the lyrics of that song is quite beautiful. So I paid a therapist 陪我紓解情緒很多課. So the translation is like, I pay for the therapist, and the therapist helped me to went through all those feelings and emotion and to connect with the needs behind. This is on an individual level. I think therapy or different kinds of inner work, whatever inner work you needed, you know your best. And for the organization level, in our organization, as I share, we have a regular celebration and mourning, because we really care about the inner work together. So we will celebrate and mourn together to restore humanity and see each other. At the same time, set limitation. So we started to talk about trauma-informed leadership and collaboration 2 years ago. We would understand that everyone may carry some sort of unresolved trauma, and the organization cannot be a healing space. So the organization has a limitation that if anyone really has some unresolved trauma, like I had before, then I have to go to do my own inner work instead of influencing my other colleagues. I had this failure and mistake before. That's why I could understand, wow, this is really not beneficial for the team, and I have to do my own inner work.
So it's a lot of understanding of yourself, talking with yourself, and then from there finding a way out. So let's turn to Habitat again. Joe, any other best practice that you would like to share with us from how you changed or turned around the organization from previously 9 managers reporting to you? What other tips could you give us, please?
I think touched on it earlier around building a culture and starting right from day one, right, with day zero. I think people leave organizations, but they also come back. And I think what they come back to is a culture that they enjoy being around. Like, we spend so much time with our colleagues. And in my time, I've had 3 people so far that have left the organization and that have come back. And I see that as a massive win. And I think the reason why they've come back is because when we've had the opportunity, and if you ever get the opportunity, I really recommend taking part in a Great Place to Work. They gave us the opportunity to do this staff survey, but we learned through the staff survey, we were scoring really badly on psychological safety in the workplace. We had like a 30 or 40% rating on that. And I really wanted to understand what that meant, because we all had quite different understanding of what psychological safety in the workplace actually meant. We brought in some facilitators, did some more training on it, and it transpired that it was all about decision-making and people not being empowered to actually make decisions because they didn't have clear direction, clear vision, clear strategy. And so they were scared about making a decision and making the wrong decision. And when we got the feedback from the Great Place to Work survey, and people in the senior, people around me advised that, okay, let's just extract some of these data points and share with the team. And I said, nope, that's not how we're going to do it. What we're going to do is share the entire back end of the survey, because first of all, I think that helps to build trust. But second of all, and this is really important, I think, for all of our organizations that are small and medium-sized, is building a culture is not about presenting something as a gift to people who join your organization. When you've got a small team, every single person, I think, has a role to play in building that culture and maintaining that culture. It only takes one person to kind of pull it apart. And so if you give that accountability to every single member of the team, that this is your culture, like you're the ones that are going to show up to work every single day. So show up to a place where you want to be and you need to play a part in building that and maintaining that. And so let's look at what we're doing well, celebrate that, but also let's work out what we need to do better. And psychological safety was one of the outcomes. We did the training, but then we put together a delegation of authority. What that means is everyone in the organization knows, with data points and financial limits, where they can make decisions. There's pages and pages of categories. The point is that it's in black and white. This is where I'm empowered to make a decision around this topic. And then this is when it moves up to my line manager. So it's building a culture. It's having everyone take accountability for maintaining that culture. And it's giving people clear frameworks within which they can actually make decisions at every single level of the organization.
Thank you.
I can't remember what the question was. I went on and looked. Sorry.
No, 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 thank you. And I hear from that is that it's interesting. Raymond was talking about doing the soul searching and in a dialogue with himself to figure out how to move forward. Whereas what Joe has just shared is not that conversation doesn't just happen within one person, it's within the whole organization. Everyone gets a part to play in that conversation. And adding layers to the structure is one thing, a structural thing, but that is not it. The more important part is the conversation to figure things out together. And also, that conversation doesn't just happen once. It could be an ongoing or regular communication to make sure that, we're still synchronized as an organization. We can still work it out together. It's not just one person or one team's problem. If it doesn't work for one team, it's not going to work for the whole organization. Yeah, thank you. Any additional best practice tips you can share with us, please, Celine?
Of course. Similar, actually, to what Joe said. The first thing is culture, and actually, I also use team psychology safety, but on other aspect, and that is for us in our team, we openly talk about our next steps, our career aspirations. Like during interview, I ask them, like, what's your career plan? What do you want to do after this? Or within the organization, what's your goal? And we keep having that conversation afterwards, like during one-on-one check-ins. And it's a completely safe space because it can be like, next goal, I want to bring Justice Without Borders somewhere, but maybe next goal is I actually wanted to go back to a for-profit organization. It doesn't matter, no judgment. But having that conversation allows us to understand where this person is being now and also how they're feeling. So it gives us a lot more time to prepare for that person's departure. It shouldn't be a surprise. And by having this type of conversation, we also normalize basically moving and leaving. It's not a bad thing. We're not trying to keep someone in that position at all cost. We also, I feel like, sometimes I also like to work with people who have a timeline. Like I want to do this for 5 years or 3 years. 5 years is too long in nonprofit. Like 3 years, and once that's done, when you have the timeline, you also it's likelier to want to reach that goal and move on. And I just feel like it's better for an organization like that. And that's culture.
Okay.
And second is knowledge management. So I guess there is like basic understanding of what knowledge management is. Usually we capture the how, the what, the SOPs, internal Wikipedia. Thank you. And what I feel like sometimes what we do most is like we spend too much time capturing the what and the how, but not enough why. Because why is the hardest to capture, and we are the laziest to capture. Like the SOP, you do 1, 2, 3, but not like why you do that. But I think that is the most important part, because circumstances change. So if we don't know why a certain decision was made at a point, we will just follow the same rules and may actually take wrong steps because we are ignoring the circumstances. And also some organizations like mine, we're much smaller. We probably don't have the resources to spend a lot of time to have a very long SOP or different scenarios where you can, like authority delegation. So I would say a low-hanging fruit is to keep it very simple. Have conversations with the team members and ask questions like, the typical questions, like if you're hit by a bus or if I'm hit by a bus, what are your biggest fear? And I remember some of my team members, when they were leaving, they were really responsible. They write very long, like 20, 30 pages SOP and spend so much time on that. And I'm like, thank you, but most likely we're not going to read it. We are not going to need it, actually. So focus on the questions, like what do your team members come to you the most? Usually, is it like delegation? Is it like authority questions? Like who has authority to make this decision? I need to talk to someone with this expertise. Who should I talk to? So basically, it's like knowledge about relationship and partnership. Questions. I also have what questions does a team always come to you with? Which partner relationships are critical? Basically. Keep it very, very casual, but at the same time, short and simple.
So it sounds like also it means to me asking good questions for your future need. And also that to me it's similar to the exercise we all just went through just now. First, know what you want for the organization in a few years' time. Know what you want the future to look like, and therefore look at what you're missing now and start making plans to develop that. That means even without turnover, staff or senior management, even without turnover, hopefully with that future picture in mind, you're also having this mindset of continuous development of skills, of knowledge, of just filling the gaps. And therefore, if there's any other changes in the unwanted changes in the future, then at least hopefully you have all been a bit more prepared, a bit grown more in your role, so that you can take up something a bit bigger tomorrow. Perhaps at this point, because everyone's done the exercise and everyone's heard what the panelists have shared in their experience and best practices, I'm wondering whether you have any questions for them, what you can leverage from the experience, or ask them how they dealt with anything in particular. Any? Yes, please.
I just had a thought. One of the things we were talking about is how you can surface from your team members their ambition or what they want to do that's not what they currently do, apart from going for a coffee with them and asking them directly. And in my experience in this part of the world is often they will tell you what they think you want to hear, rather than necessarily what they really, really think. With that in mind, have you, in your organizations, have you used any whole group activities or like team activities to help you surface some of those more indirectly, where you can see people in action, showing interest in other areas, or being creative, or being ambitious, or just because we started talking a little bit about that type of thing. Have you got any examples that you've used or seen from your experience?
Yeah, really great question. And yes, when I joined, I had one committee, which was the finance committee, and I wanted to build a pipeline of board directors my previous role was director of pipeline initiative. So I was all about the pipeline for a team, but also for the board. And so we built out a number of different committees, whether it was risk committee or fundraising committee, nominations and governance committee. But I couldn't manage all of those committees by myself, one problem that I needed to solve. But what I wanted to also do was to do exactly what you're describing and be able to kind of surface areas where people would like to grow that weren't necessarily directly linked to what they were doing. And so I developed two schemes. One was the staff liaison scheme, where subject matter experts within the team would be leading on putting together the committee packet materials and all of that. But the other, and I think this is the more interesting one, was the committee coordinator scheme. So it was open to all staff, predominantly looking at the more junior members of the team, the officers, and giving them the opportunity to help coordinate, but also sit in the room. And we had program officers that would usually be out delivering services, but sitting in the room of our finance committee, and just like their mind was blown, because it was showing them how you have to sustain an organization and some of the decisions that we have to make to do that. But two people who left the organization and have come back, both of them in their first and hopefully their last in my lifetime exit interview, both of them said that actually the thing that they got out the most and where they learnt most was from their experience sitting on the finance committee or the nominations and governance committee and being in the room. And I really strongly feel that there's so little that needs to be confidential within an organization, and that the more knowledge you are able to share, then more empowered people are to make decisions. And that starts with letting officers who are program officers sit in and meet with and be part of board level discussions.
So building that transparency every day and that trust every day, and hopefully that would also help service the type of conversation, the difficult conversations that you would need.
Can I also respond to that question from Nick? I think, first of all, do I think people, I don't necessarily think people will tell me what they want me to hear if I ask them about their career aspirations. I guess it's like a nonprofit thing. Or maybe my staff, they don't care about impressing me that much. But I remember when I joined JWB, a question that the ED asked me was actually what made me stay. So he asked me, so Celine, apparently we can't offer you more money. Like, that's not how we can attract you. That's not how we can make you stay.
That's the first thing he said.
Yeah. But what are the other things that you are interested in? Because that's what we can offer you. Like you went from being a lawyer to now a legal officer. Are there any other things that you want to learn and we can let you learn? And to me, that was super attractive. And also like whole team exercise. We haven't done a lot of whole team exercise just to talk about career aspirations. But what I felt like is helpful in building that vibe, that atmosphere for people to feel safe about talking about that is we have fun questions like, if you're not in NGO sector, what do you want to do? Like in your dream job, you know, maybe you didn't even do this, went to uni for this subject. What would you do? People would be like, starting a cafe or like pet food company, stuff that we're not doing now, but then it actually really opens up our mind for us to talk about things like that. Yeah.
Thank you. And Raymond, would you like something to add?
Yeah, we have tried many methods, and we have a lot of failure. One of the effective way that we are still trying is the morning circle. It's a way of gathering every staff every 15 minutes in the beginning of the day that we will allow the space for everyone to share what's going on in their life. And the ground rule is non-judgmental, no interruption. And another working based on what we have been practicing in nonviolent communication or compassionate communication that our organization has been promoting is to directly address the limit and the hurdle brought by power dynamic. Because it's true that if you face your father or mother or your teacher or your boss, you will have something that you are not safe to share. And if I am the person with higher power, I would rather name it at the beginning, that I know that I have more power than you, that you may feel afraid to share with me something. And I know this is something that both of us might not be able to solve it now, but at least I will name it explicitly. And one thing that we tried this Monday is I built an AI power with balancer, that I invite my staff to input their struggles into the AI power with balancer with the Gemini Jam. And I also built a Google anonymous form, and I invite them to use their personal email, because they were afraid that if I use your domain email, would my record be saved and I cannot be tracked? That is the real of the psychological safety, that I am afraid if I say something that is not good for you, will you punish me later? That's why we have been figuring out how to do the anonymous and using AI to help my colleagues to surface their real anger, worry, frustration, without asking them to provide a solution or suggestion. Because it's ridiculous that, if you mention a problem, you have to provide a solution. But in my mind, that is not effective. In my world, is let them share the real struggle or worry, and we can solve it together. Or maybe we can also face the reality that some of the reality is we cannot solve the issue now. So maybe what we do have to sit with the pain and sit with the unknown. At least we can name that instead of pretending, everything is okay, we are happy, we collaborate well. I don't want this kind of fake reality.
Thank you. Interesting how the conversation, we talk about succession planning, but I think our conversation has moved so much to about communication, talking, and culture, organization culture. And I know time is up. Does it mean we don't have time for one more question? Or okay, let me.
Sure,
ask.
one more question.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your mercy, Stephanie. Any one more question? One last question, please. Anyone? If not, then may I ask the three of you, the three speakers, to have one word as a takeaway. One word, one phrase.
I will keep using my organization motto, connection before solution. Yeah, but first connect with ourselves in the world.
Talking about next step isn't disloyalty, it is responsible leadership.
Excellent. Thank you.
Succession is way more than a CEO backup plan. It's about shared knowledge, shared culture, and shared delegation of authority and decision making across all levels of the organization. That was not one sentence or that was one sentence, lots of clauses, lots of words.
Thank you very much. And personally, I would probably wrap it up as it's not just succession planning. It's not one straight line. It's succession preparation. You're giving yourself options, and you could do something about it every day. Thank you very much.